Welcome, everybody. We're super excited to kick off the fifth annual Demand Gen Summit, and I couldn't be more excited to welcome Heather Zinzak, longtime friend, brilliant marketer, in my opinion, one of the leading marketers in B2B marketing, really worldwide. I'll give a little bit of background, but before we do that, this is one of the largest events we've held. We generally see 2,000-3,000 attendees. We think we're going to exceed that. So we're very, very excited to welcome everybody. And we actually have people that are live in from all over the world, from Australia, from Europe, from Africa, from China. So this is, again, one of our largest events. Very, very excited. And I think it really goes to the value and the importance of demand gen and the evolving nature of I think, the industry and what I think sales and marketing leaders are being challenged with today. So thank you all for joining today. Little background on Heather. Again, Heather started her career in finance and in consulting. So BCG, Booz Allen, she was one of those people, one of those smart people that knew more than me. And then she came to the good side and got involved in marketing. So the way we met is she was the CMO of a company called Domo, a public company. She helped them, go through that process. And then once again, she did it at a company called Pluralsight and really kind of revolutionized, at one point, data and data analytics. And then later she helped, I would say, revolutionize education and digital education. She then went into a place where she was, a board member, and she and I sit on a board together. It's one of my favorite boards, if I must be honest. I love all my boards equally, but there's no prejudice on my part. But it's super fun to be, to learn from Heather. And then most recently, this is hot off the press. Excited. I don't think I'm the person to announce it, but I'm going to pretend that I am. So she just came out of board retirement and now is in a full-time gig at a company called AlphaSense. They've been around for quite a while, based in New York, one of the hottest companies right now in the world. They're growing like crazy, and they're a data platform that is using a pristine data set that's unique to them, and they're helping companies understand, both financial companies and consulting companies, people who really need a very, very deep dive understanding and analysis of data. That's public data, SEC data, financial data, and her platform is truly unique and is absolutely on a tear. So again, we are privileged to have you join us. Thank you for taking a couple of minutes. Give us one thing. Thank you for, thank you for joining us.
Glad to be here, Dave. I always love conversations with you. So this is going to be fun.
We're going to have some fun today. No question of that. First, just give us a little bit of background. I tried to pitch AlphaSense, but I think it'd be good for everybody to understand the context and really where you're coming from.
Yeah. It's funny. As you know, I did about 4 years of just board service, and I didn't think I'd ever go back into an operator role. And this was such an exciting opportunity. It brought me off the sidelines.
Yeah.
So AlphaSense is an AI platform that's really focused on market insights. So if you are an individual at a company really trying to understand a lot about companies in the marketplace, public companies, private companies, and you are, if anybody who's ever been in that, like I did this at BCG, there's so many places to find data. And so it's an AI platform. They've been doing this for more than a decade. Started out with machine learning on top of this really pristine, amazing data set of everything you would ever want to know about companies from a qualitative perspective, and now have generative AI on top of that to bring you back all the insights that you need much easier than someone having to go out and research and analyze on their own. So it's been really fun to jump back into the AI space, because I think this is a huge revolution for every industry, but it's going to be a really exciting one for tech as well.
So I'm excited to unpack a lot of the concepts that you described, because I think a lot of the marketers and sales leaders and the people that are joining us today. I mean, there's a lot of buzzwords and some of the words we're saying, but there's meat and meaning behind a lot of these same concepts. And so I really want to dig into it. But let's start off with and look, we don't have as much time as I'd like. I think we're going to be around 45 minutes or so. But I really want to get into your insights on what you think is happening in the market. So we just came off of, I mean, we're in a weird, like the macro condition, the economy, we're in a presidential election year. I don't know if rates are going up or if they're going down. I don't know if more EVs are being made or if they're moving to hybrids. I don't understand if China's strong or if they're weak. Like, I don't know if we're at war or if we're not at war. We're in the most crazy macro environment that I can remember in a long time. I mean, granted, we're coming off of COVID, so I say that with a little bit of cynicism. But what's going on from the marketer or the sales leader's point of view? What's happening right now from your as you see it?
I mean, I think we've talked about this before, but I think the principles of marketing and selling, go-to-market motions, stay the same. And they have always been. You have to be able to have a fantastic product that people love. You have to be able to identify who would buy that product. You have to be able to tell the storytelling around the value that product provides customers. You have to go and find the watering holes where those potential customers live. And you have to be able to communicate with them in a way that they can hear you. You have to enable your sales team. You have to build customer relationships, and you have to give your sales teams opportunities to have time with customers to build those relationships. So all of the basics, I think, of selling and marketing, especially to the enterprise, haven't changed. It's just the how. And, yes, this is a crazy time. And I'll give a nod to the only reason I think this time might be crazier. But the truth is, listen, you and I've lived through so many different times that we thought were the craziest, from, the financial crisis, from honestly in the 90s, the internet, think about how much that changed lives, to the advent of social media in the early 2000s, to 2008 financial crisis, COVID. We all thought these were such unprecedented, crazy times. And we all think that now too. But through all of that, and even today, the basic principles of go-to-market don't change. It's the how. And I think the only thing that's truly unique not unique, but even more so to today, that makes us maybe a little different, is the speed at which it's changing. So when you look at AI and what's happened over the last 18 months, it's crazy how much change has occurred during that time. So, it's just, for me, it's business as usual. You've got to deal with all the stuff coming at you, but it's just coming faster.
Okay. So look, I want to go back to, I mean, you say some of these concepts as if they're so blatant and obvious, but you're we just need to do normal marketing principles, like boom, 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 boom. And I'm like, okay, where's my pencil? I got to write all this stuff down. So just for everybody, you rattle off 5, maybe 7. I've depending on the way you count, there's either 5 or 7 key principles. So I'm going to have you just reiterate them, because I think it is kind of a calming thing. And I've interviewed several people who've suggested the transition from Q4 last year to Q1 this year has been really rough from a pipeline creation and a demand creation. But what you're suggesting is we need to not get so lost in maybe some of the tools or the data or those things, but focus on these principles. So share your principles one more time.
Yeah, and I don't know exactly what they were. I mean, I kind of rattled them off. So they're probably going to be a little bit.
No, but concepts.
They're going to be a little bit. They're going to be a little bit different. I mean, and I've thought a lot about this. When I made a decision to go to a new company, what bowled me over that, I know I can do this. This is a once in a lifetime. Is you got to have a product that your customers love.
Yeah.
So that's super important. Yeah. And I'm getting. The
AI thinks the AI gave you a thumbs up. That's great.
You're gonna figure out how to do that. So product that your customers love. You have to figure out who you're going to be selling that product to. Who's your ideal customer? What value they're going to get out of that product? you have to be a storyteller. Like, how are you going to tell the story to that customer of this value? You have to figure out where that customer is. Like, what are their watering holes? And
Yeah,
then you have to be able to deliver that message in a way in those watering holes
that
that they
resonates.
can hear you. And like, as an example, COVID, there was no in-person watering holes. So, things happen in the times that massively change all of these, the how on all these pieces, but you still had to find the watering holes where your customers were and you still had to communicate with them. You have to enable your sales team. You have to uh, create customer relationships, and you have to give sales the space and the opportunities to create those relationships. Because relationship selling, especially if you're selling true enterprise, like you're selling big deals, it's
Yeah.
still from the beginning of time to today. I had this really impressive sales rep at Oracle back when I was a product manager, and I was like, Dave, you're making so much money, and I'm the one convincing these people to buy. And he's like, no. By the time I bring you in to do the demo, they've already decided they want to buy from me. They're
People,
buying from me. Like
people
relationship
buy from
selling.
people. They
Yeah.
don't buy from computers or AI.
They buy from people. So you have to figure out how to create that. And, like COVID's a great example that the relationship building changed how you could do that change during those times. So, always the how is going to change, but I think the basic principles stay the same.
So, okay, so let's unpack a bunch of these concepts. The first one is the speed you described. I have a theory, and I want you to either agree and laud me with brilliance or challenge me and call me an idiot, and they're both good. I I think technology is increasing the rate of the tools that are now better and more available. And I'll give you an example. 18 months ago, OpenAI introduced, ChatGPT, and everyone's, mind was blown. It's like, oh my gosh, like the amount of content we can create, the quality of our content, all of this. And then at this point, we're at a stage where everybody is doing it. So it's kind of like we're a little cynical to this content place right now. But at the same time, I just read the amount of computing that's about to become available in the next, call it 12 to 36 months, is going to dwarf, and some crazy multiple. So NVIDIA is introducing a new AI processing chip called, I think, Blackwell, which is supposed to be 100 times more capable than the current AI chips that are basically driving our current AI, revolution. And at the same time, companies like Microsoft are building a $3 billion data center that will add all of these Blackwell chips. You've got X.AI, Elon Musk's company, just raised, I believe, $6 billion on an $18 billion valuation to build these data centers. So if we think the current rate of change is interesting or exciting, I think the next, call it 24 months, I don't even think we know what to expect in the next 24 months. So I think your point is understand these principles, anchor on these principles, and adapt like crazy as these different tools and techniques and the how, as you described, changes. What do you agree? Do you disagree? Like what's driving this rate of change from your standpoint?
Yeah, so many things to dig in on that. The first one is if you're, I got two teenage kids at home or I have three teenage kids at home, but two of them think that they're day traders. They're constantly buying stock. And so what I told them the other day is like the stock to buy is energy stocks, because with this massive computing, AI is going to need massive computing power. Like I'm at an AI company and we just had a board meeting this week and we talk about the computing, like the cost of computing. Like it's something that you look at from a financial business perspective. And there's probably very few SaaS companies. Yes, you looked at your AWS costs, but it's a whole different ballpark now with AI. So the energy, so the computing power is going to become massive, but the energy to serve that is going to be massive. So I would tell my sons, like, invest in energy stocks. I don't know if that's really, I'm terrible. Like that's not my trade.
The United States just increased its power consumption in the last 12 months. For again, finance people out there, if I'm wrong, just pretend I'm right. But I think it's from the power grid went up 6% more than the previous year, 6% more demand, and it's not designed to support it. So we're in a really a bit of a precarious place from a support infrastructure standpoint. So I think
And it's going to get worse. Like we used to think we had Moore's law, but Moore's law can't even keep up with how
yeah,
fast computing power and the energy needed. Like I think the Nvidias and others of the world are just going to keep upping the computing game, and energy is going to be the big one. But that's just a side comment on
interesting
your
side.
on that. But I do think that AI is, or the changes going on right now are faster than I've seen in my career. Change is happening faster, and you have to adapt faster. But listen, the best marketers, I think, and the people who've done the best at marketing are technology savvy marketers. Like my first job out of college, I was a developer. Like
Yeah.
I coded. I love systems. I still get in there. In my new job, I just did a giant systems review, and the team was, I think, horrified that the CMO was asking the questions that I was.
Yeah.
They were like, "Oh, like I was like, did you look at the? Do we do that? What's the integration here?" Like so a typical company, probably 50 to 100 million, somewhere there. Marketing could easily have 30. I think the average is 45 different technologies in their tech stack. And it's not maybe at some companies it's because they just bought a bunch of stuff they don't need, but no, it's because
It's needed.
technology is really the best way to market. Like and using technology effectively as a marketer gives you a competitive advantage massively. And so now you need to figure out AI is the technology for marketers, and how do you leverage that for competitive advantage?
So let me ask you a question. And I know a lot of the people listening, whether you're a marketer or you're a salesperson or a sales manager or leader, are getting their technology budgets cut pretty aggressively right now. People are getting forced to consolidate tools. How do you empower and enable these people to go back to their leadership and say, this could be a problem? It's an interesting question, right?
I don't know if it could be a problem. Listen, when I came on at the company I'm on, they were like, "Hey, the market, we're going into planning season, and the marketing budget, the first proposal that the former team put together is, X million over budget." And they're like, and I was like, "I'll fix it." Like, and I did. I got it down, and we're going to do what we're going to do. And so I would say, like, you know what? I don't. I do think, and this is why one of the first things I did was a tech stack reviews. I do think there's stuff we don't use or need or use the way we should. We thought it was going to promise something, and maybe that solution really does deliver that at some customers, but we don't have the processes in place to leverage it. And so I don't necessarily think the position I always like to take in this is, if I want something, I do two things. Like if I want budget for a system that I don't have, like, so I want to go buy something that I don't have, I either figure out the true ROI in this, but I use real data for this. Like, it's not like somebody's ROI calculator. Like, I look at like how much pipeline we could create, or how much more efficient that pipeline could be, like, and come back with like, and usually if you can test the process without the technology first and show like, hey, we're doing this with win-loss data, and it's making our win rate that much more effective. Imagine if we could automate that by using a win-loss tool. And I don't know if that's true. I'm just making this up.
Right.
And so you bring in data like to show like the places where we had win-loss data, the win rate of that rep when they're up against it went up 2 percentage points. And so extrapolate that when we can automate it and have it for everything. So you come in with real data. And the second thing you do when you want something is you make sure other teams are screaming for it. So, when one of the companies I was advising, I came in and a person in marketing really, really wanted this sales enablement tool to push out content to the sales team better. So like the sales team isn't using our content, they're unhappy, da, da, da. And when you dug beneath the surface, when I talked to sales enablement, they're like, it's not the tool. Like, we would love to have the tool and we will scream for the tool, but it's the content. Like, we don't like the content. So we went in and fixed the content. And then the sales enablement team actually then they went and pitched to the CFO and to IT that we needed this content delivery tool. So somebody else
somebody else pitching for you, or a group. So two things. I actually love this. So two more takeaways. One, prove it with a tangible ROI. Start small, and ideally prove the concept with process, not tech. And then once you've proven it, then go add the tech.
Exactly.
That's pretty brilliant. And then the second thing is get a committee to demand or scream for for the solution. So it's not just you asking for it, but it's everybody around you, really the recipients of the outcome of the solution.
It is, and usually for marketing, it's sales.
Yeah.
So, you know, like if you go to your BDR team, if the BDR, SDR, whatever you want to call them, the account development, business development team, if they, you know, if that team doesn't live in marketing and they know that really, I'm just going to make something up. They know that really great organic leads from social, like social viral leads that organically come to the website are the best leads because it's usually people in the buying cycle, and they're, you know, busting us to give them more, then I'm saying, hey, look, I need this social tool. It's going to increase that. And the head of BDR will gripe to finance that they need more of these leads, and look how more effective. And that's better than me going to finance and saying, I need or IT or whoever does your budget for your systems, like I need a better social monitoring tool. Because they're going to be like, no, you don't. And the other tip I will give every head of marketing, if you need money for systems, the first place I would tell you is to go do a systems audit. Go see if all the different things in your tech stack, how many licenses you've bought, how many have actually been assigned, and how many you're actually using, and how often they're using it. And I guarantee you, whatever it is you want to buy, if you'll find enough money.
There's so much money sitting there. When I ran one of my previous companies, I would require, this is a crazy, like, you're not going to believe me, but I'm going to say it anyway. I would require a monthly company-wide audit of tech. And you'd be like, okay, it can't change that fast. It did. It's crazy. We would see, not just usage. Somehow somebody would buy a new thing with a corporate credit card, and then someone's like, oh, I want that also, because it's under their, you know, their budget amount. And so, but all of a sudden it spreads throughout the organization, and we've got, you know, 200 licenses of this thing in like 90 days. And it's like, wait a second, I never even saw this. And it's on, you know, 45 people's different credit cards. And I'm like, wait a second, how did we just get into this? So there is a lot of money sitting back.
And if your deal size, is the other thing is, when I was at Pluralsight, and I probably shouldn't share this, I'm going to, our average deal size, believe it or not, when I first started, we were in like 54% of the Fortune 500, but we were only like 3% penetrated on our TAM, like our buyers, not the whole company, but who could, like 3 to 4%. And our average deal size was like just under 10,000.
Yeah.
And if we had more than 10,000, it was usually different POs, like different things, because guess what the you know, from an audit committee perspective, the amount that you have to go through $10,000. So it was exactly that. All these people buying the solution because they really wanted it, but they didn't want to have to go through the headache of, and that, if you multiply that at every company on MarTech stack, like, or sales, it's pretty significant.
No, it adds up. You also threw a little grenade in there that I'm going to follow up on that is provocative, where you said if the SDR reports to market, you know, SDR team or the appointment setting team reports to marketing or sales, where should it report?
So I will tell you, there is not a place it should report.
Oh, come on.
No, I really don't. So I think it's like almost everything in life, it's based on humans.
Yeah.
So I think officially, and I could get this wrong, it's like 60%, 65%. You would know better than I. It reports into sales, and 35-ish. Is that right? It reports into marketing. So you know, when I was at Oracle, it was in sales, wildly effective. One of the best SDR trading grounds on the planet was Oracle back then. I assume it still is, but I don't know. SAP, it reported into marketing. Yeah. And at Domo and Pluralsight, it reported into sales when I got there, and they moved it to me. And then at some point I moved it back. At this AlphaSense, when I joined, it was split. Inbound was in marketing and outbound was in sales, which was a disaster because we needed to give the good leads to the people who are close to the sales rep. So I actually, one of the first things I did, which, you know, everybody was like, you know, a lot of people in their career kingdom buildings. I came in, I was like, oh, no. I met the head of the outbound SDR team, and she was phenomenal. And I said, we're moving it all to her, and it's all going to sales. And so here's I'm going to get a little more to this. I could talk about this for hours. Here's the reasons we moved it to me in marketing. The couple times that we have, we had great relationships between the SDR and the AE, which that's the most important relationship with the building. And they were already built and really strong, but we didn't have great alignment between the marketing leads that were coming in. And we thought if we can move the SDR team to marketing and we can increase conversion rate on this money we're spending from marketing lead to opportunity. I love that I keep giving myself thumbs up.
AI, by the way, this is AI gone wrong.
Right? From market, and and I'm somebody who talks to my hands, so this is hard for me. So from marketing lead to opportunity, that was one reason. The other reason is at both of those places, I'm a very data-driven, process-oriented, look at the numbers, change things, da-da-da-da-da. And my sales leader, actually both my sales leaders places, some of the best sales leaders I've ever worked with, but they were whale hunters, relationship builders. They could call a forecast like nobody, but they did not want to deal with the data and the analytics and the process. And I was like, oh, I love this. Totally. So it kind of depends on the persona of who's leading it. And then the reason I have moved it back at certain places, there's two reasons. If you can get the marketing BDR alignment tight to where the marketing money is performing well, the reason to keep it in sales are twofold. A couplefold. One is the relationship with the AE. If that ever starts to disintegrate, it's got to be back in sales. Yep. Two, I believe in the farm team that you hire SDRs. Like I ran into this adorable SDR. I shouldn't say that because she would be offended if she listened to this, but this awesome SDR in the bathroom the other day. And she was like, I asked her,
let's play it out.
Yeah. I said, are you an AE? Like we're kind of chit chatting as we're washing our hands. I was like, are you an AE? And she's like, no, I'm an SDR, but I will be one day. And I said, you will. And so the farm team, and if you're in marketing, it's hard to hire people that can believe they're going to move over to sales into an AE role. So I think those are the farm team and the relationship with the AEs are really important reasons that you could move it or keep it in sales. It just depends on where your company is and who's leading it.
And the thing I actually love about what you said, because I've seen it both ways, and you're exactly right. It just depends on the team, the culture. But my favorite thing is moving it. Because when you move a team, it gets one set of advantages and learnings and culture from one leader. And then as you move it to another leader, it doesn't replace it. It actually expands its capability. And so most people don't do it, but it's actually something a good mentor of mine. And again, I'd say a general learning is don't ever get too static that there's a way to do a thing. Like one of my leaders in the past ran customer success for me. And then I had him ultimately run the BD team, which is not the same thing, but it brought a new way of thinking to the team. So that's kind of what you're suggesting.
It is. I mean, we moved it more because we had problems in an area that we knew would be fixed better in one organization than the other, or we knew we had a leader that was better to like I was more data driven and process driven. And so I was like, I'm going to dig in on this. So, I don't know if it was moving it. I don't know if we necessarily got new and innovative ideas. I would hope so. I do think when you're grooming leaders, it's wonderful to have them do different parts of the company. So I'm a big believer in that. And it's also just great for employees to see that they have a better career path. So I do think that, but I also think it's really funny because early in my career, I was not like this. And I wish I could gift to everybody this mindset now, of that it's not about kingdom building. Like it's usually better to give something away. Like, and then if somebody taps you to do something, it's the right, instead of you trying to get something, it's the right thing if they tap you to do it. So
that's a hard thing for people to probably hear, because that is very counterintuitive in today's corporate culture. I would suggest
it is, but it's honestly, if I could give everybody that skill set, I have it now at AlphaSense. Like I said, when I came on, like I gave the BDR team away, and now our like we're able to do so much more, 50% more in pipeline.
Wow.
And not with different resources. Like, and it's, so there's so much, like, and it's because it should be there. Like
your ego, it's about the outcome and the productivity.
And
so
maybe that's because I've been through a couple IPOs and I'm like, I just want my stock
I
to
just
go
want
up.
to win. I just want to win. Yeah. No,
Just
that's
wanna win.
yeah, that's right. So, okay, I want to pivot you a little bit back to a previous part of our conversation where you talked about the different tools and advantages you can get from tools. I would love to know what are some of your favorite tool categories without necessarily naming. And I don't look if there's a few products, sure, we don't we can do whatever we want. But what have you found that really works, and what should people be thinking about? So I mean, I'll throw out just if you don't have a CRM in your company, go get one.
Oh
Like
yeah. I mean,
yeah,
come on. That's like saying,
table stakes.
if you want to have dinner, you need a plate and some silverware. Like, you
Yeah,
can't.
yeah.
I mean, I guess you could eat off the table, but no, you really can't.
You shouldn't.
So,
So again, just to kind of prime the pump here, just to warm it up, you need a CRM. And look, there's some very small companies that you feel like, man, I'm barely surviving. I can't spend the money. I would say you can't afford not to spend the money. Like that
yeah, and
should be.
there's cheap. You can migrate. Like, listen, there's different of all these things that you absolutely positively have to have that are table stakes and foundational elements. There's vendors for every stage with you.
Yeah.
From, one of the companies that I'm on the board of is Thrive, and they're for really small businesses like, Joe's Pizza and Betty
Yeah.
Dog Walker. Like it's
Yeah.
true Main Street America. And it's a CRM system. And they've done it in a way that even without having anybody at your company that knows, because a lot of these people don't know boo about technology. They might be lucky to have a nephew that can show them how to use their iPhone, but like and they figured out a way, 20 whatever bucks a month. Like there's
For every
money
stage
is
of your
not.
company, there are the right tools. So what are the table stakes tools? Let's start there.
Well, I mean, obviously CRM, you have to be able to email. I mean, I don't know. I mean, this could take forever, but I mean, it depends on what stage you're at. But I mean, for sure, you have to have a CRM and a marketing automation. Like and then it's all the things that go as you start to use those. So here's the interesting thing. It's like, it's like when I used to read my kids the book, When You Give a Mouse a Cookie.
Yeah.
He's going to want a glass of milk. And then with a glass of milk, he's going to need a napkin. And like once you start using some of these, you're going to be like, well, it's not enough to have marketing automation. Like I really need lead scoring. Well, it's really not enough to have lead scoring. I need a better routing tool. Or then if you're in, using a CRM, you're gonna be like, well, I really need better. Like it's really hard to assign out these territories. Or, oh my God, the forecasting is not what I want. Like once you start using them, you'll start at like, or I really need a personalization tool on my website. Like, or it's not enough just to have like, we've been on a, whatever website and we've been using Google Analytics for free. And we actually really need a true, test and target type of tool. Like, so it's like, it's the give a mouse a cookie. Like I think start with the basics for sales and marketers with a CRM, and definitely it has to include a marketing automation. Obviously you need an ERP system because you got to be able to take money. I mean, so, and then as soon as you start using those, you're going to want other things.
You'll know what's next. Okay. Yeah. And which, by the way, that's a key principle. Don't buy too much too fast because it is a temptation. So get one or two tools, make them work, get a few more. Okay, now let's fast forward all the way to what is your highest impact demand gen solution?
That's hard to say because
don't think about it. Just throw one out and then we'll go.
Okay, so here's the thing. I mean, like the best leads always are leads that come in SEO. Yeah. So your website, everything on your website, whether it's website optimization or, website, everything that creates on the website or, conversion rate optimization, like everything around that, like those are the best performing leads for everybody because you're catching somebody and so then if you're going to double down on that strategy, it might be like a content management system because you're really thinking about the content, just in terms of tools, if everything's working pretty well.
Yeah.
I'll just give a little one out there. Like I'll throw out something random. Maybe people want chat does so well. Like it's annoying as hell sometimes when you're on a website. It is. But if you can do chat is some of the absolute best leads in a B2B business organization. And the funny thing is when you first start using chat, your BDR team or SDR team is usually hesitant to want to staff it because like, shit, I don't want to be at my desk. Like, I don't want to be at my desk or whatever it is who takes leads in from that. And then everybody's fighting over those rotations. Because
once somebody gets it, it's done.
It's done. So, and those are honestly, those two things I just threw out, it's the same source of leads. It's
Yeah.
people that have come to your website and you're in the buying process.
Yeah.
So
Now, okay. What is the thing? What is the thing that is not as effective? Yeah. Again, I'm in a hotel room picking up my son, by the way, at college this week. So it's like, you do it,
awesome.
you do what you can do.
You do
Um,
what you do.
yeah, you do what you do. What are some of the things that you'd maybe warn people about, to kind of be a little weary of maybe its complexity? I mean, it can be, a lot of these things are alluring and they're tempting. But then when you get into it, it's like, oh my gosh, this is Pandora's box. Like the amount of effort needed to get the value out of this is a bit of a risky one.
I don't have a category I feel that way about. I feel that way about every category that you don't have all the stakeholders.
Everything. Yeah.
Yeah, like listen, I love account-based marketing. Like it's been a tool that I've used so effectively so many times in my career. And you know what? When I first came to AlphaSense, we didn't have an account-based marketing tool. And I was like, yeah, we're not ready for that. Like we need to walk and really build how we work with the sales team, because if sales isn't really bought in on the account-based marketing tool and going to take the engagement data and really leverage it and use it, it's just not worth it. And if they're not going to help us figure out what the different accounts are and the tiers, and this is just going to be a marketing thing, like it's a disaster. No, we're buying one right now. I've been there long enough, a couple months. I'm like, yeah, we need to start this motion. But
Yeah.
I honestly, like, I could say that on almost anything, that if you don't have, like the example I gave you on the sales enablement tool before, a win-loss tool, if you don't have buy-in, it's never going to get implemented right. Nobody's going to pay attention. It's never going to give you the ROI you want. It's going to just be a pain in the ass. The IT department's going to be like, we're not letting you buy anything else because you wasted so much of our time with that one. So, I would say there's not a particular category. It's only buy things that the whole team, not just marketing, but especially if beyond marketing needs to buy in, like if sales or sales enablement, like that's my bigger thing, is wait until everybody is screaming for it.
Yeah, that makes sense. So don't try and get ahead. Okay. We don't have a ton more time, but I've got a couple of, I think, interesting questions. So look around the corner. We just alluded that you've suggested a few things. Data is kind of everything. So what should people be doing in terms of like preparing for that? Like if they're like, okay, AI is going to be an impactful thing in the next 24 months, and data cleanliness and data quality and data quantity is important. How should marketers and sales leaders be thinking about their data?
Yeah, I'm going to answer that a little bit of a different way.
Okay.
It's been interesting and I'll get there. I'm going to come around the horn to the answer.
Yeah.
But when you think about AI, listen, every marketer is struggling with, how can they leverage AI? And
Right.
truthfully, the best way I would tell marketers, unless you have an amazing vision and strategy of your own, if you happen to be one of those people that are out front and visionary, run with it.
Yeah.
But if you're not, like if you're not sure what to do, you're going to leverage AI through your vendors. Because listen, every MarTech vendor right now, go look at their websites. I guarantee AI is somewhere on the front page, even if they don't have anything related to AI. Everybody's, talking about it and doing it. So I think when you think about data on that, here's kind of the importance of data around AI. The first one is, when I think about AI, now working for an AI company, you can either have really amazing technology on AI, and ChatGPT changed the world for us. Like
Right.
it really did. And they're out front. And there's probably going to be one or two players that are going to win on the technology. And the rest of us are just going to leverage that technology. The
Right.
next thing is really around the data. And this is where I think it's the most important and how companies need to think. And it's not just your data. First, when you're using an AI, they're learning on that data. Like they're learning how, they're learning everything AI perspective on that data. So this is one thing I love about AlphaSense, is we have a very pristine data model that you can click through actually anything that we give you and see, like, did this come from the SEC? Did this come, like it's, and most 99% of the language models out there are not that way. So you don't know what you're getting back. And that's where you get things like hallucinations and really poor content. And as marketers, you need to be really careful with solutions you buy that have an AI solution, you need to ask the questions about their language model that AI is on top of. Because if it's like the ChatGPT large language model, I would be really hesitant. And then the third piece of that is we're now starting to see a ton of companies come into this, and AlphaSense does this as well, is bringing in your own data and combining it with the external data so you get really great information out of that. And so your own data has to be pristine. So if you're a sales team that's going to be leveraging AI on top of your sales channels, like it needs to be really good data.
Okay.
And so
time out. What you just did is you just said sales reps need to actually have good data. We should end. If you're a sales rep and you're listening, we love you, but you're not good at keeping your data clean. But it's so important. Like, and it's not just sales reps, it's marketers. Because how many times do we have crappy content out on our website? Here's the problem. If we have bad data or incomplete data or wrong data in our CRM, and we have bad content, incorrect content, oftentimes we're like, oh, we have these blogs, they're 5 years old, they're not accurate anymore, but who cares? Google's, we've taken them off our index. Google's not going to go search these things. But the problem is the AI will. The AI very well could.
And that's if you're using an AI tool that leverages your data, your infrastructure, your website. Like we have an AI product that we've kind of put together ourselves at AlphaSense that's purely for marketers, that goes over our whole website, and it will create different types of small pieces of content based on the content that's already on our website. But it doesn't use anything external. A lot of your vendors that are giving you AI capabilities and writing things for you, they're using like the ChatGPT, their big large language models.
Right.
So there's two data questions you want to ask, like what language model is this learning on and leveraging for external data, and you want to make sure that your internal data is pristine as well. And those are both really important pieces.
Well, and I would say, I mean, there's lots of takeaways from what you've shared, but one of them, I think maybe one of the most important is, like, if you do nothing else, really get ahead of your data, like really get on top of your CRM data, your marketing automation data, your website data, like your internal data, because at the end of the day, you also kind of dropped a truth bomb back from the 90s. I'm bringing that word back. Shows you how old we are. Like the technology, a little bit of background. The technology, the algorithms are not particularly innovative. Many of them have been around for many years, like machine learning and the statistical models. Now there's some, with GPT, there's some evolutionary things, but they're largely neural nets. They're large language models that have been around and they're evolving. So the technology is probably not the most innovative thing. What really is innovative is your data. And so if you have unique data, that's going to give you an advantage, but your data is only as good. So again, you said, and again, you heard it here first, don't get enamored with the technology, focus on your data, focus on what you do with that technology.
Yeah, because I think there are going to be some big winners in the technology. There already are some big winners in the technology space, but is there going to be 50 companies that constantly have the best AI technology? No, there might be 10. But you know what there's going to be? There's going to be hundreds, if not thousands of companies that leverage AI technology. And the big thing that they have that's different is, what is that technology? What data is that? Because the AI trains itself. And so you have to be pretty careful with that. And those are some good questions to ask, because otherwise you could end up with content that has hallucinations, that isn't strong, that has false. I mean, we've all seen all the examples in the news. And so you have to be careful on your external. And if you're going to put it on your internal, you have to be careful that your internal is really good too.
Yep. Okay. Last question for you. Well, second to last question. Okay. Look around the corner and use your crystal ball. What do you see the next 12 months? So, in the next 12 months or end of Q1 2025, what are we going to be talking about as go-to-market leaders?
I don't know the answer to that.
I don't either. Curious.
I never get the crystal ball, but here's the thing is, I think we're going to be through a presidential election. So either way, we'll be out the other side and everything will settle. I think the economy is coming back. I think the IPO markets are going to open up. It's by mid-year 25.
Yeah.
I think that then the thing that follows after all that is bigger corporate budgets. We're going to start to open up, and we're already starting to see in the private valuations, we did a shift to where growth wasn't as king and profitability was just as important. And, you constantly heard investors talk about profitable growth. And I just still think profitable growth is the way to be. But I think you're going to start to see growth. You're already starting to see growth come back more because, listen, a couple points of growth are going to get you even more EBITDA down the road. So because it just expands and expands, it's exponential versus the EBITDA savings. So I think we're going to see that's going to eventually bleed into the public markets to where, and then is what's going to happen is you're going to start to see public companies start to invest more in growth, which is great for B2B salespeople. I don't know if it'll be by Q1 2025, but if we get through an election cycle, if we get the economy continuing to do well, if we have the IPO markets open up, if we see the growth continue to start to becoming back in fashion, then you'll start to see that in the public companies too, and they'll start investing for growth, which is great for all of us selling B2B.
That's actually, for not knowing, that's a lot of insight. And I think my hunch tells me you're right. My hunch tells me, so not that
I might also just be hopeful. I might just be hopeful.
I like the answer. So again, I think we're going to, what you're saying is end of election, growth will become more important. Economy will continue to improve. Maybe interest rates will come down. B2B buying will come back, public markets, which then this whole machine starts going, much more effectively. Because I spoke with, in a previous event, Henry Schuck, who's the CEO of ZoomInfo, and he shared the last year or two have been one of the most difficult software selling environments in the history of software. But it does feel like we're beginning to come out of that. It's an interesting.
We are, and like I said, I did sit on 5 boards. I'm rolling off some of them now that I'm taking this full-time job, and every single one of them their growth rate was impacted by when on the B2B was hard. And you know what? Back to what I said at the beginning on the principles. The company I'm at now, yes, they were minorly impacted, but they're still growing like crazy. So if you still have a great product in a space that people want to buy, so it comes back a little bit to product market fit. And that's why you see the AI platform multiples are just higher than general SaaS. But I think if growth starts to become valued again, you'll start to see big public companies, even if the stock market doesn't rebound, they'll be rewarded for investing in growth, which means they'll spend money.
Okay. You guys, you've heard it here first from the one and only Heather Zinzak. If people, my true last question, if people do want to get a hold of you, have follow-up questions, what's the best way? Is it LinkedIn? Is it,
Yeah, I think
how can they reach out to you?
Yeah, LinkedIn is probably the best way. Follow me on LinkedIn. You can send me a DM. I'm not super fast on it, but I think LinkedIn for the general public is probably the best way to catch me. Just give me a couple days response time.
Perfect. Okay. Thank you again. Amazing takeaways. We're going to actually take all of your points. We're going to put them in a brief white paper for people. So if you're interested, come back to the demandgensummit.com. You can download it for free. But amazing. Thank you again so much for coming on. Really, really insightful stuff. And frankly, I'm actually feeling kind of positive. I'm like, okay, life is good. The economy's going to improve. I'm feeling better. So thank you.
If I can achieve that today, Dave, then I've checked
that one thing. No, amazing. All right.
Thanks for having me. I always love conversations with you. They're always fun.
Cool. It's really fun. There's lots of additional tracks through the rest of the morning. Please make sure you stay tuned in. And again, reach out to Heather. She's one of the smartest, one of the most brilliant marketing leaders in the market today. So thanks again.